as a digital food hall, we have to win by delivering great food. So the delivery component is extremely important for us. We want our food to be delivered in the best condition possible. So our goal is to make your food, whether it's pad thai, tacos, we want to finish it at the same time for the expediter. The expediter is then going to package the food. At the same time, the system knows when the driver is pulling up. So we package our food, we hand it to the driver, we have a 10-minute delivery radius. The driver then delivers the food to your door within 10 minutes of it being cooked at OOMI.
Welcome to Whisking It All with your host, Angela Esposito, co-founder of Whisk.ai, a food and beverage intelligence platform. We're going to be interviewing hospitality professionals around the world to really understand how they do what they do. Welcome to another episode of Whisking It All. We're here today with Markus Pineyro, co-founder of OOMI Digital Kitchen. Markus, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure to be here. Been listening to some of your previous stuff, so I'm excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I'm excited to have you on. You know, for people listening, typically that we have either restaurant operators or restaurateurs in general, or restaurant tech related companies and founders. So a lot of nuggets on both sides. And a lot of the times the restaurant tech companies or founders come from the restaurant world. So in general, there's a lot of good advice and nuggets that are shared with, our listeners. So having said that, obviously the place I like to always start, and I do my research. I don't want my listeners to think I don't do the research. I got everything about you and all the questions I want out of you, but I like to let the guest explain what they do. So what is OOMI Digital Kitchen?
Yeah, so we're a digital food hall based in Dallas, Texas. For those of you that don't know what a digital food hall is or what people call a digital food hall these days, it just changes, right? It's like saying ghost kitchen,
right.
Dark kitchen, like who knows? But what we do and what we focus on is making great food. We have 6 different brands that we currently operate out of OOMI. It's one central kitchen. We cross-utilize our cooks. You know, like the guy that's doing grilled chicken for our tacos is also doing grilled chicken for a salad. The guy that's frying wings is also going to be frying an egg roll. So based on that, you know, we are one central kitchen with 6 different brands, and we specialize in delivery and carry out.
Love that. So I always like to understand where and how people got where they are. And so I'd love to understand a bit more of your story. So I know you've been in the restaurant space for decades, but maybe just share that story of like, how did you start in the restaurant space? And then what led to or what inspired you to create this concept?
It's one of those things where growing up, I always had like a passion for the restaurant business and conceptualizing. And, you know, like I was like, it's like I have really faint memories of like drawing like business, like restaurant like floor models and things like that, you know. And my parents were like, why are you not playing with Legos? Like, why are you doing blueprints? Like, you know, it's just like really crazy ideas. Like one of my far-fetched ideas was doing a restaurant with like no waiters and a swimming pool in it. It was like the weirdest thing, right? But now if you think about it, like 20 something years, like 30, 40 years later, it kind of makes sense, right? Like the no waiters and the conveyor belt. So like really weird stuff that, you know, nobody could fathom years and years ago. But anyway, so yeah, awesome. I just always had a little bit of a passion for the restaurant industry. And, you know, literally my first job out of college was working for a restaurant group here in Dallas. And yeah, ever since then, I just never looked back. And I've been in the restaurant business, you know, as an owner operator for 18 years and in the industry for 20 years. So just a long road, most of it in brick and mortar. And, you know, took the dive into this digital space about 2 years ago with OOMI Kitchen. And, you know, funny enough, it's like a lot of the people that you host on your podcast, the people you talk to, like those are the solutions or technologies that we're currently using at OOMI. So
that's awesome.
You know, we are they're providing the technology. We're making great food, and together we are a digital food hall.
That's really cool. And I love to understand like what inspired you to start a digital food hall. So I know you were a restaurant operator, owner. How did that transition happen from, okay, doing that which is a tough job, and we can chat a bit about, the ups and downs of that, but what made you kind of switch, or where did the idea come to then say, you know what, I want to do a digital food hall?
Yeah, no, great. So great question. So for me, I've been doing brick and mortar for, at that point, like 16 years. And I got to a certain point in my life where I was like, hey, like, I want to keep doing restaurants, but I don't want to keep doing the traditional like brick and mortar. And, I thought there was ways to make a much more efficient P&L and operation. And then this was coming to fruition right around like January 2020, right when COVID started hitting. And, me and my partner, he was coming from a big corporate background as well, franchise world, which is even worse.
Okay.
And, like, when you think brick and mortar. So he was also thinking about like, hey, like if I'm going to stay in this industry, like I want to do something a little bit different. Let's think, there was a article, like a document that came out around 2019, towards the end of the year, and it was labeled maybe I should dig around for it, but it was called the Restaurant of the Future. And in that Restaurant of the Future, there was a lot of talk about, the Taco Bells with the two different stories, and, two different levels, and all different kinds of drive-throughs, dark kitchens, all this stuff started, like, people were starting to talk about it. So that kind of caught our attention. And then, all of a sudden we get hit with a pandemic, and, we both of us just kind of, hey, like, I got to watch my business. I was operating brick and mortar restaurants at the time. He was in the franchise world. So we kind of like, hey, let's prioritize life and let's get out of this. And soon enough, when we kind of came out of it, we started talking again and say, hey, I think we were kind of onto something with this Restaurant of the Future, like kind of pivoting from the brick and mortar traditional model. Right. So then we started really really started thinking about like, hey, what can we do? Like how can we reinvent the traditional restaurant model? And we had a few different iterations, and at the end we picked the one we currently have. And yeah, we've been open for 13 months now. We're still very young. We have a long ways to go. It's not easy. It's not the traditional restaurant strategy. There's a lot of variables, but yeah, we're very excited about what's to come. I'm a concept guy. So whenever we came up with the idea of creating concepts and, conceptualizing different brands, I was like so excited about that part. That's kind of my forte, where a lot of my passion comes from. So yeah, that's the story of OOMI in a nutshell.
I love that. And then I know there's obviously a few different brands under the same roof. So maybe just to share with our listeners, what are the brands and what do they each serve, just to get a sense, and then we'll dive a bit deeper into maybe operational stuff.
Yeah. So the most recent, we have two brand new brands that we just released in the last 4 months. So we have, I'll start with those. Those tell you a little bit more of our story and what our customer wants. And, so it's a little bit of we use data to figure out hey, what should be our, we listen to our customers, and, we are data driven and customer driven as well. So we developed our Clucky's Damn Good Chicken brand, and launched that about a couple months ago. It's, anything from tenders to wings, chicken sandwiches. And then we have our Love Bowls concept, which is our Mediterranean healthy lifestyle bowl concept. So those are the two newest brands. And then our anchor brands, which we open with, we have an Asian concept called Hot Lips, pad thai, drunken noodles. We have a barbacoa egg roll, and that tells you a little bit more about kind of how we approach things, because we have our Mexican concept, Urban Taco, which makes barbacoa. So, from Hot Lips, Asian, to Urban Taco, Mexican. And then we have Burrito, which is our sister concept to Urban Taco, which essentially is Urban Taco in a bowl. So it's rice bowls, burritos, chicken tinga, barbacoa, pastor, all of that on a bowl. All the traditional items you would see in Urban Taco, which is my original concept that I created now 18 years ago, which now lives digitally at OOMI.
Wow, very cool. And then I think I'm checking out the website. I think there's also Savage Rabbit and Tribal Juices, right?
Can't forget salads, right? So Savage Rabbit is our salad concept. Soon we're going to be doing wraps as well. And then Tribal is one of our partners, and we, it's a pressed juice, local pressed juice company here in Dallas.
Got it. And then last but not least, I believe there's a gelato. Interesting. A cafe.
Yeah, that's another partner that we don't make the gelato.
Got it. Okay, those are the partners. Okay, so got it. Tribal Juices and the gelato.
We try to give our customers a little bit more than like the traditional soda and, beverages. So we have gelato, we have pressed juices.
Very cool.
We're looking for a cookie partnership right now at the moment. So it's a more of an open, like a marketplace.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And so when people come, is it just to understand the concept behind it? Obviously, I understand the digital part, and we'll get more into that because that's super exciting. But it's also a physical. Is it also a physical food hall? So can people come and actually go to each location, or is it more just like back of house, everyone's cooking, but everything is online and delivery?
Yeah, it's a small lobby, which, people come in and order. There's no stalls. There's no suites.
Got it.
One central lobby, but there's no, besides there's a component of an experience to the lobby. We have our digital lockers, QR code enabled, like smart lockers. So that's part of the experience. Like for us in food tech, it seems very mundane and like, oh yeah, obviously you have lockers, but we get customers that never in their life been to a food tech conference or anything like that. And when they see them, they're like, whoa, what is that? It's like these tech lockers. So it's part of the experience. It's one lobby, you got the QR codes to scan for a pocket kiosk. We want everybody to scan a QR code and then from there, open our platform on their phone, because then that forces a customer to, give us their information, and that's kind of part of our circle, right? Like it's all digital. We're able to collect data from our customers versus just a credit card transaction. So that's kind of part of our ecosystem. And it's a very nice lobby. We're very brand forward. It's not a sheetrock lobby with, a couple of iPads on a wall. Like we have more of an experience of going in there, ordering, we have no dining in-house, so everybody, it's more of a grab and go or delivery as well. Got it.
Cool. And I'd love to maybe just to kind of paint that picture, and you started touching on it, but just imagine that typical customer journey. So there's two scenarios. I want to walk through them both. One is, ordering online, which we'll talk about, but to start with the in-person grab and go. So they come into this lobby, and I'd love for you to just kind of describe it in more detail. It sounds pretty interesting. So they come in, what do they see? They scan something, then they get their menu. I'd love to understand just the typical process.
Yeah, preferably, and most of our customers know now to order prior to arriving. So they will go to our website or download our app, place an order. They typically walk in, scan their QR code by our lockers. The locker opens automatically. They grab their food, and out they go. We do get the occasional walk-in. So when that walk-in does come in, we have our QR codes where people, there's, can
see the menu.
Yeah, exactly. You walk in, you see, scan here, you scan, our platform opens up, they place an order, they wait, 12, 15 minutes, they get a text, QR code, open the locker, grab their food, and out they go.
I love that. And then getting the flip side, which I guess is probably the majority of the customers, someone who's at home or at work and they want to order online. So for that experience, you mentioned they have mobile app or web, I guess. And when they get there, what's the experience like? Is it similar to maybe a third-party delivery app? Is that the general gist? Or I'd love to understand, what does that look like?
Yeah, our platform, it's very similar. It's a marketplace is how I would describe it. The only difference is that you can order from all these different brands at the same time. And that's what makes it exciting. That's cool. You can get, tacos, you can get pad thai, and then you can come back with some prosciutto, gelato at the end. So that's what really gets people excited and makes us much different than a third-party platform where you're tied to one. But if you want the other one, you can get it, but your food's going to go around town and get, soggy and cold. And by the time you get it, you'll have 2 different meals, but they're not great.
Yeah, I come from a big family, and so we're 5 siblings, and parents and whatever. So I've seen that scenario happen where like half the people want something, half the other people want something else, and it just comes at 2 different times, 2 separate Ubers, 2 separate delivery fees, 2 separate. So that's actually a pretty cool concept when you think about it. Which I think is a key differentiation to definitely call out, is the idea that you can order different foods, like you said, tacos and wraps or bowls or whatever it is, in one delivery fee, in one delivery, I guess, which is neat. I'd love to hear from your perspective, right? Because you came from just typical brick and mortar, like you said, when you were just straight up urban taco restaurant, and then kind of saw this digital potential, and now you're really tech forward. What are some what are some clear, I guess, advantages you started seeing? Like just to maybe share with the audience, what are some clear advantages when you went from pure brick and mortar to now this kind of digital, dining experience, everything online? I'd love to just get some wins.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest difference I've seen is that we are definitely looking much more into data, because we have more data. When you go to a brick and mortar, basically the only data that you're providing is your card, right? And maybe some brick and mortar companies have a way to track that data and figure out what customer profile looks like and how many times you've been there. There's ways to figure that out. But for us, it's like we have the name and the data of each customer. And with that data, we're able to really figure out what's working, what's not working, where to push, how do we acquire a customer, what's the LTV of that customer. So we're data driven. And that's something that, coming from brick and mortar, like I never really experienced, especially pre-COVID. Like now we're leveraging all these technology partners that you've hosted on your platform, that we are able to, because of their great products, we're able to harness that data and figure out, okay, like what do we do with this data? Like like I said, let's get better. Let's push here. People don't like this. People are really coming back for this. How do we acquire a customer? How do we value that customer that we just acquired? And how do we keep them involved? And how do we keep them in our ecosystem? And to me, that's as valuable as it gets. And that's something that, coming from brick and mortar, never really existed. Like we used to do comment cards, like pre-COVID, like, hey, do you want to fill out this comment card and sign up for our email list? And then we would do like contests with our waiters and who can collect the most comment cards. And that's about it. It's the good old fishbowl business card tactic from back in the day. And that's what we had. Now it's, there's endless possibilities what you can do with data. And us being digital, every transaction is digital. So we know a lot more information about our customers than we ever did before.
That's awesome. And it's super interesting to hear, even, to hear you say the words LTV, right? For people that don't know, it's lifetime value. For someone like me who's running, a tech company like Whisk, it's a very common word, CAC, customer acquisition cost, LTV. But I love hearing it. Restaurants, you hear, average check size and this and that and, typical things. But to hear a restaurant talking about LTV, I think is so cool. And it's a pretty interesting indication of like how you guys are really going data driven, which is super cool.
Sometimes I hope I'm just using it properly and not just trying to sound smart.
No, you're saying it right.
Like it's words I never thought I would use in terms of like customers, right?
Right. It's so cool.
Churn customers, like, that's been a word used in the industry, but it was hard to like really quantify it or like use it in a tactical matter. And now it's like, when we look at data, like we're looking on, hey, why are we churning customers and how can we get them back? Send them the email, like unleash the Kraken, let's go, So
that's awesome.
All these, it's almost like we're becoming like an e-commerce platform. And
the
way, like we're trying to do tactics like, hey, how are these people growing their Shopify accounts? Like, well, they're doing this and that. Like, we're a restaurant. Why can't we do the same things? like it's e-commerce. People are buying. They're just buying food. So let's use some of those tactics. So that's something that I'm starting to look into right now, into that approach of like, yeah, we're a restaurant, but maybe we're an e-commerce brand that just sells hot food.
Right.
So
that's an interesting angle. Yeah, it's interesting because you think about e-commerce and there's a thing, abandoned cart, and you send them an email to re-engage or to fit, like all these kind of tactics and ideas and newsletters and product promotions or bundling or whatever. And it is an interesting angle. Obviously, restaurants are hard because it's perishable goods and it's, but to your point, it's interesting to think of it as more of a tech/e-commerce company and LTV and CAC.
Exactly. It's an idea and an approach that I think will work and could work. So that's kind of where my brain is trying to like wire itself. And, I get a lot of these, like, I know you probably see them, like you start looking into marketing tactics and all of a sudden you get an ad on your Instagram account with these guys promising
retargeting
returns. And that's what really got me going. I was like, why not do that for a restaurant? Like, let me look into that. So once I get more information on how to transform a restaurant into an e-commerce platform,
that's awesome. We'll have to have another one of these.
We'll talk about it.
Share some of these lessons. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to learn a lot, and I'm sure a lot of things from that world could be transferred over. I love the data side, everything you're doing there, the way you're thinking about it. What are some maybe like operational wins, right? Because I imagine there's probably some good operational wins, right? You mentioned, and you kind of alluded to a few, but I'd love to hear from you. Like you mentioned, the chicken you make here can be used in this, be used in that, be used in that. So I'd love for you to maybe elaborate, coming from the brick and mortar regular restaurant world, what does it look like now that you have this kind of centralized kitchen?
Not having to deal with waiters and the drama that comes with waiters is off the top just a plus, right? We have one thing to do, and one thing only is what I tell my staff in the expo or like our front of house team, which is just like our expo team or our management, is we just need to make great food. Like, that's it. Like, there's no tables to clean. There's no valet parking to deal with. And, things that were like peripheral to a restaurant, the traditional brick and mortar, or, bartenders or busboys or, wait list and the hostess, like all that is gone. To me, that's the fat. You just removed all the fat. Now let's just focus on the cooks making great food, putting on the expo counter, looking at it, approving it, putting the lid on it, and that's your stamp of approval, packaging it, and then you go out and deliver it, right? So I think it really does simplify the four-wall operation. There's another layer with delivery, which we can talk about.
Right, I was going to ask.
And how we're fixing that. But operationally, it makes much more sense to me to operate in this manner, to be able to be consistent and putting out good product. We currently have a 4.9 star rating on Google. So you can go out and find any brick and mortar or other ghost kitchens or dark kitchens or delivery kitchens or digital food halls. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
We have over 200 reviews, and it's our number one priority at the end of the day is great food. Without all that, we can be on all these podcasts and we can talk to, go to all these conferences and have all this cool technology and, all these tactics. But at the end of the day, we are a restaurant at heart.
Yep.
We're just leveraging technology to our advantage. So that's something that we've never forgotten, and something that we came into this food tech world as a restaurant operator. We're just leveraging technology. We didn't come from the technology side to go operate kitchens and run restaurants.
Right.
So I think that to me has a longer term, like it seems a little bit more of a success, like a route for success, right? Like doing, like the hard part is the restaurant and the food.
Yeah.
The easy part is like what these guys are developing, all these great integrations, all these, new solutions, all, that all just complements our great food, and it helps us
Yeah.
put out great food and communicate with our customers better. But at the end of the day, it's the food that has to be great, and there's no exception.
I love that. And just out of curiosity, when you guys do online reviews and stuff, do you guys consider it all under like OOMI? So is it like all reviews under, or is it every brand has its reviews? I'm just curious, like how you manage that since you have multiple brands.
That's always been a question for a lot of topics, right? Like, is it one Instagram account and then smaller Instagram accounts? Is it one website, like one ordering platform? The simple answer is yes. We funnel everything towards OOMI. That's the brand, and we have these sub brands. The sub brands do have Google listings. They do have, like they're still having a social media account, but we kind of have like instead of like an 80-20 type of approach, it's more of a like 95-5, like 95% of our efforts is OOMI, and then the sub brands, we give them attention, but we really try and funnel everything towards OOMI. So if we want somebody to write a review, we want them to write it on the OOMI account, and that's where we funnel them. It doesn't prevent people from writing individual reviews for the sub brands, but if we're going to dictate where your energy is going, it's going to be towards the OOMI Instagram account, the OOMI website, the OOMI Google site. It's all going to be funneled towards OOMI.
And then out of curiosity, because, we have a lot of restaurant operators and owners listening. And so I always try to, squeeze some like value out of just like lessons learned or mistakes made. And so I think you have an interesting story because you went from, brick and mortar to really digital. And even for our listeners who are not fully digital, but, they're embracing some tech, you obviously have a lot of experience because you're embracing all tech. So any kind of lessons or just things you can share of like tech that has helped, and it doesn't even have to be the specific brand, but just like whether it's this inventory system or this online ordering changed your life because of X or Y. So just really anything you can share so people listening can maybe have some takeaways on the tech side.
Yeah, I think high level, I would say communicate with your guests. Whatever tools you have to communicate with them. I was doing some recon work on other brands, and because I'm just like a food nerd, right? like why are you doing a mock order for this other brand? Like, well, because I want to get in their email flow. I want to see what that looks like. Like, I want to see how they communicate with their customers. And you'd be surprised how poorly some big brands do in communicating with their customers. Like, I placed an order from one of these brands 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything back, and I signed up for all the bells and whistles. You can text me. You can email me. I haven't heard any Super Bowl promotions. I haven't heard any Valentine's promotions. But so I already forgot about this great food that I ordered. Like, so it's not in my wheelhouse anymore, or in my, I'm not even thinking about it in my radar. So I would say communication is key, especially with all these digital platforms that we currently have. We're very thankful right now. We're using Empowered Delivery, which has been a great tool for our delivery and also our customer flow. I think it's one of the best tools out there. At least, from where we came from, it's definitely an improvement. And, I think you hosted Zach over at Ovation. Ovation is, and
I also hosted Meredith from Empowered Delivery.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's really cool because
Ovation to me has been a great tool. Like, I don't know why anybody would operate without it, and I told Zach, I was like, hey, like, you are like quintessential to everything we do. Like, it's a great tool. I think it's.
And for people who don't know, can you elaborate a bit on it? Like what is? I mean, I know we had an episode, but for people listening to this episode, what is Ovation and how do you guys use it?
Yeah, so to me, Ovation is essential for the communication part that I was talking about. Like, for the ability for us to text a customer an hour after they placed an order and ask them directly from me, how's your food? Anything to contribute, good or bad? We want to hear it. We hear the great reviews, they go to Google, right? Where we funnel them to Google. Excellent. If it's a bad review, it goes directly to me on my cell phone. And my wife knows when we're having dinner and I get an Ovation text, everything stops. And I need to tend to this ASAP. So that's what I do. If you have a complaint or you have anything to tell us that didn't go out as planned, I want to hear about it. And I'm going to fix it this second, right away. Whatever I need to do above and beyond, I will fix it. And the biggest satisfaction comes from when you recover that customer and they come back and they actually send you a note. Hey, I went back and it was great. Thank you.
That's cool.
I'll be back again. Like, how can you not value that? And
yeah.
So I'm a big Ovation fan, and I would recommend it to anybody.
No, this is great. I love giving people like actionable tips that they could do. So Ovation sounds like it's an awesome product and it's serving you. So people can definitely check that out. And I know you briefly mentioned Empowered Delivery, which is great because it's a perfect segue. I want to chat a bit. We're talking about the operational inside those four walls, but another big challenge is probably delivery. So I'd love to understand more how you do it. And then maybe we could even touch on how you're leveraging Empowered Delivery.
Sure. So to us, like as a digital food hall, we have to win by delivering great food. So the delivery component is extremely important for us. We want our food to be delivered in the best condition possible. So our goal is to make your food, whether it's pad thai, tacos, we want to finish it at the same time for the expediter. The expediter is then going to package the food. At the same time, the system knows when the driver is pulling up. So we package our food, we hand it to the driver, we have a 10-minute delivery radius. The driver then delivers the food to your door within 10 minutes of it being cooked at OOMI.
Wow.
So if you think about it, and you're eating dinner at a restaurant, and they bring the food out, and it happens all the time. You're talking to your friends, everybody's socializing, you're having a few drinks, you're waiting for somebody else's order to come in. All of a sudden, you've been chatting and talking for 7-10 minutes. Yeah. So basically, our food is just like you went to a restaurant when you get it. It still has that shelf life of being transported. It was transported, but it was made 10 minutes ago. What do you do with it after? We don't know. We can't guarantee you. Like sometimes you get your food and putting the kids to bed, or you're finishing up work. Yeah, the food's gonna sit, but our goal is to deliver it to you within 10 minutes of it being made. But we also battle test our food. Like we sit down with our chef, we come up with a new recipe, a new menu, and it tastes great. But the test is not done until I put it in my car and I drive around town for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, come back to OOMI just in case, put it on the counter and give it a 35 to 45 minute test. And that's when we know if we have a good product or not. It's not coming out of the fryer or, on a plate. We tested like it would be tested by the delivery drivers and the customer. And that's part of kind of like our constant development strategy.
Love that. I love that. So just to recap for people listening, so definitely some wisdom in the way you guys handle deliveries. You're leveraging a tool called Empowered Delivery. People could obviously do their own research and figure out whatever tools they want, but it seems to be working for you. And I'm a big fan of Meredith. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. On the customer communication / feedback side, you're leveraging Ovation. Again, whether someone uses Ovation or anything, like they should be reaching out, newsletters, SMSs, check out Ovation, but feel free to check out anything else. But the point is, communicate with your guests. Anything else that comes up top of mind that you want to share on the tech side?
On the tech side, I think that's, those two pieces are essential for us. There's other things here and there that we use. But yeah, I'd say just the communication part is key. Like if you acquire a customer and you spend $25, $30, $40 to acquire a customer, don't waste your money and forget about them. They just want to be
Right.
heard. Just send them something. Send them something.
I love that. Well said. And then last but not least, I'd love to understand what's next for you guys, right? And you gave a hint with diving a bit more into the e-commerce side and maybe, borrowing some knowledge from that world of business. But yeah, I'd love to hear from straight from you. What's next for OOMI Kitchen?
Yeah. So we feel like we're in the infancy stage, right? So we want the brand to mature. We want to become a household name in our hyper local market. We think we can accomplish that by, doing great marketing, having great word of mouth, and really just stabilizing as an operation, proving the concept to ourselves, to our investors. And then the next step is to, hopefully spread the word of, through locations and growth. But yeah, just keep putting out good food. And to me, my biggest priority is keeping our 4.9 stars on Google.
That's awesome.
That just means we're doing things right. And, as long as we keep doing that, then good things will come.
I love that. And I know I said last but not least, but I forgot the last is I love for you to be able to plug where people can find you. I know we mentioned the name and the website, but this is your chance just to where people can find you. So website, social handles, whatever you want to share, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so it's OOMI Kitchen across all social, all, our website. In terms of my personal, just like I'm on the Ovation app all the time, I manage our social media, and I'm the one, if somebody needs to get a hold of me directly, send a message to OOMI and I'll be checking that message within 5 seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so OOMI is an extension of us, and, we're of myself as well as a brand, it's just, so I am very in tune with the brand and the communication that goes with it. I'm watching everything. And so that would be a good way to get a hold of me, either through a purchase and text Ovation or
I like that.
Through our Instagram or the traditional LinkedIn, but that's about it.
I love that. And then for people who want to check out the website, I'll just spell it out here. OOMIKitchen.com. OOMI is OOMI kitchen.com. You'll see all the brands there, which, by the way, I love all the different logos and styles, really well done from a branding perspective. But so check it out there. OOMI Kitchen. I love what you're doing. And I think I'd love to actually have you back on the show as you guys progress, because it sounds like you're already doing really cool things. And like you said, you're 13 months in, exploring some interesting tech, doing some really interesting stuff. Love to, touch base in the coming months or year and see what else you learn and can share with our restaurant audience. So with that said, I just want to say thank you, Markus, for being on the show. Once again, Markus Pineyro, co-founder of OOMI Digital Kitchen.
Thank you.
Feel free to check out Whisk.ai for more resources and schedule a demo with one of our product specialists to see if it's a fit for you.